We used to do financial viability. Can you stay in business for the length of the contract? We made a decision based on our research that we haven't dropped any contracts for that in the last 10 years. So why are we checking for it? And why are we making people give us audited financial statements for a period of 5 years? That automatically cuts out Aboriginal organisations who are new startups, and also most tech companies who are also new startups. So we've actually not only made the language simpler, but we've also made the process enormously simpler. One of the other keys to it was we've included, and I think this is the big thing, we've included a response form for suppliers which they must use to give us a tender back. That means that everyone that we look at, all of the information is in the same place. So when we're going through, if you fail the first one, we don't have to go any further. We don't have to keep searching through the information to see whether it's in there somewhere later. It also limits the length because we give people a bit of an indication that it should be no more than a page, for instance, on things. So where people were previously writing books, they now realise that a page is it and they can stop if they've kind of got to that length. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and because it's an interactive form, a lot of the questions that we now ask our buyers automatically pre-populates things. So if, for example, you're buying a report, we will pre-populate that with the kind of standards that need to go in it if you're doing a report, like must comply with, Commonwealth style guide and such forth. But if you're not buying a report, we don't need that stuff. You don't need to think about it.
Thank you, Jenny. We've got 3 minutes before lunch, but I know that Jen had a question.
Well, it was, it's really interesting. I had a long list of things that I think work, and as I've been waiting, I've been checking them off. But the thing that I think is important and sort of permeates all of these is that people are looking for safety, and lawyers are terrified of being weird. And if and all of the things we're talking about, it's been done before, or someone important is doing, or somebody's making more money. All of that goes into the safe. I'm not going to get in trouble. I'm not going to be attacked, or if I have an attack, I can defend myself. And so part of what we need to do is just to give permission for what some people want to do anyway.
So now I'm talking a lot. I just wanted to say something, Tom, to your presentation about scalability of contracts. And I think it is really important for this idea and for the proactive approach, preventative law approach to contracting, for those design tools to be more accessible and to be usable, similar to what people can take precedence to be able to use these tools so that it can be used. But on scalability, I think it is a big challenge, but in a way, maybe not so, because in the sense that all those clauses like indemnity, subrogation, waivers, and force majeure, etc. I think over time, I trust that with a couple of good designers, there's going to be certain best practice ways in which those clauses are going to be visualized. And I'm hoping that, and we know that those type of clauses already make up 80% of most contract documents. And so I believe, maybe naively, but I believe that it might be easier than we think, where those visualizations of those clauses will become standard. I hate the word standard, but
yeah, and I hope so as well. I do think that's possible. And it's not mutually exclusive with the idea that, well, some contracts might be reducible to these parameters and therefore be made more self-executing so that we don't have to worry about the legal risk at all. And we just don't need those clauses at all. So but not all contracts, but some.
A contract that we did many years ago for a client, we wanted to make it practical and manageable, and we wanted to have it as a risk management tool and a checklist of who was doing what, when it was to be done and how it was to be done. And what we did, because we didn't need to think of visualisation or anything like that, we split the contract up into two parts, which was the management side, where the managers were free to do variations and changes, and we had what we colloquially called the legal gobbledygook side, where we had all the force majeure, the warranties, the indemnities, the insurance, which only the lawyers and senior management could ever delve into. And the managers kept their part and dealt with that as a work level. So maybe in the meantime, before we can get visualisation of those concepts, is splitting them and having the
Another
work.
full layer.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. All right, thank you very much. I think we should break for lunch, but please keep your questions and your thoughts, because in the workshop tomorrow, of course, there'll be lots of opportunity to engage with many of these things as we look at both conscious contracting and we look at visualization. So thank you very much to our panel. And let's go have some lunch. Thank you very much.